So we're doing OCR's paper 2, the foundation non-calculator paper from November 2021. And if we just look at the grade boundaries, paper 2, you need 44 marks for a 4 and 57 marks for a 5 on this paper. Question 1, nice and easy to get us going. How many shapes does a pentagon have? The answer is 5. Just learn your types of shapes, guys. Part B, write down the mathematical name for this solid. That is a cone. And then we've got 3 angles in a triangle, 45, 50 and 90 degrees. What's the special type of triangle? That is a... Question 2, -7, add 10. Just think number lines if you struggle with these. Start at -7 and go 10 that way because you're adding 10. Well, 7 will take you to 0. There'll be 3 left over to get you to +3. 4 times -2, well, 4 2s are 8. 4 times -2 will be -8. Question 3, we've got to work out 9.06 divided by 3. You might be able to just work that out mentally. If not, do bus stop. How many 3's into 9? The answer is 3. Decimal point, decimal point. 3's into 0 is 0, and 3's into 6 is 2. Your answer is 3.02. 15 times 0.6, I don't know, so I'm going to do 15 multiplied by 6. Get rid of the decimal. 6 5s are 30. 6 1s are 6, 7, 8, 9. So 15 times 6 is 90. This must be 9. If the 0.6 is 10 times smaller than the 6, my answer is 10 times smaller than the 90. Question 4, we've got to use inequality symbols to match these things up. So a quarter and 0.025, bit of a naughty one that, because a quarter is 0.25. And 0.25 is much bigger than 0.025. Just looking at that first digit after the decimal point to compare. Part B, we've got 0.304 and 0.34. If you want to compare decimals directly, make them the same length, and then just say which is bigger, 304 or 340, and 340 is the bigger number. Remember, these are like crocodiles that eat the biggest number. Question 5, work out 4 add 16 divided by 2. Make sure you follow bin mass, division before addition. So we've got 4 added 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And you're left with 4 add 8, which is 12. And part B, let's write this out again. We've got to do 5 times 7 add 1 divided by 9. And we've got to put brackets somewhere to make this thing come to 4. Remember, when you put brackets in place, you're saying that's the bit you're going to do first. So we need to put brackets somewhere and do that bit of the calculation first. You can try all kinds of places, but I think if I put them there and then focus on that bit first, 5 times 7 is 35. Add 1 is 36. So I've done the brackets first. And 36 divided by 9 is 4. That is now correct. If you would have put your brackets anywhere else and done that bit first, you would not have got an answer of 4. Question 6, my mate Darcy answered 16 questions out of 20. What fraction did she get correct? And simplify your answer. So if she answered 16 correct out of 20, there is the fraction straight away. And it says simplify it, so let's just start halving top and bottom. Half of 16 is 8, half of 20 is 10. Again, let's halve top and bottom. That's 4 out of 5, and I think at this point I'm finished. That's not going to simplify any further. It then says write the fraction as a decimal. Well, I can use any of these. What I'm going to use is that middle one, because 8 tenths is 8 divided by 10, and 8 divided by 10 is 0.8. Question 7, write 13 thirds as a mixed number. So I'm just going to count up in threes. 3, 6, 9, 12. And I'm aiming for 13. So I've got 3, 6, 9, 12. 4 whole ones. And that got me to 12. So there must be one of those thirds left over. Part B, looking to add fractions. To add fractions, you need common denominators. And you can get common denominators by multiplying these denominators together. But there's a naughty little shortcut here. If you take that first fraction and multiply top and bottom by 3, then what we're going to get is 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. I've changed that 1/3 into 3/9. So we've got 3/9 added to 4/9. I didn't need to change both fractions. I just got away with changing the left-hand one. And then I can say 3 ninths add 4 ninths. 3 add 4 is 7. 7 ninths. And part 2, we've got to do 3 divided by a third. Well, 3 straight off is 3 over 1. And we're going to divide by 1 over 3. Dividing fractions, keep your first fraction. Flip your second fraction and change the divide to a multiply. And then just times tops together. 3 threes are 9. Times bottoms together. 1 times 1 is 1. And 9 over 1 is 9. Question 8, we've got a function machine and it says find the output when the input is 2. So 2 is going into this function machine. We're going to do 2 add 3, which is 5. And then 5 times 7 is 35. Part B says find the input when the output is 63. So now we've got 63 on this side and we need to work backwards. When working backwards, you must do the opposites. So I'm going to start with 63, working backwards, not times 7, divide by 7. So 63 divided by 7 is 9. And then working backwards still, not add 3, but take 3. 9 take 3 is 6. Question 9, we've got a shopper buying 4 apples that cost 60 pence each. Straight off, I'm going to spot that and do 4 times 60p, 61.20. That there is £2.40. They then also buy 3 peaches. They pay with £5 and get 44 pence change. So what we can work out is figure out how much they spend. We start with £5. If we get 44p change, I can take £0.44p and just work out what they spend. Well, they must have spent £4.56. £4.56, add the 44p, gets me back to £5. So this here is what they spent altogether. This here is what they spent on apples. If I do £4.56, take away £2.40, and we'll do that using a column method. £4.56, take away £2.40, that's going to tell me what they spent on peaches. So 6 take 0 is 6, 5 take 4 is 1, 4 take 2 is 2. They spent £2.16 on peaches. And it says we bought 3 peaches. So I just need to do £2.16 divided by 3. Let's see how many 3s go into £2.16. 3s into 2 is 0, remainder 2. 3s into 21 is 7. And 3s into 6 is 2. What's the cost of a peach? 72p. Question 10, we've got a list of ingredients to make pancakes. And then it says the ratio for water to milk is 75 to 200. Can we simplify that? Well, both of these will divide by 25. Counting up in 25s, 25, 50, 75. So if you divide that by 25, it's 3. And then again, counting up in 25s, 25, 50, 75, 100. 25, 50, 75, 200. 8 25s in 200. So you get 3 to 8. Part B says Ben makes 18 pancakes. How much flour does he need? So this ingredient list is for 12 pancakes and we need 300 grams of flour. So there's loads of ways to do this. If I say 12 pancakes is 100 grams, what you might start to do is half this, double this. I'm going to halve it and say 6 pancakes would be 50 grams. And if we look, 6 add 12 is 18. They usually give you nice numbers on a non-calculator paper. 6 add 12 is the 18 that we want. So 100 add 50 is 150 grams. Part C, we've got Sundip who has 225 grams of butter and 10 eggs and plenty of everything else. And we just want to know the maximum amount of pancakes that we can make. Well, if we just focus on the eggs to start with, we need 2 eggs for 12 pancakes. So we've got 10 eggs. We can make 5 lots of the recipe. Okay, from 2 eggs to 10 eggs is times in by 5. So we can do 5 lots of the recipe. 5 times 12 is 60. So if we just focus on the eggs, we can make 60 pancakes. Let's have a look at the butter. We need 50 grams of butter for 12 pancakes. Let's see how many we can make. So 50 grams would be 12. Another 50 grams, another 12. Another 50 grams, another 12. Just counting up in 50 grams, that's 51, 50, that's 200 grams. Then there's only 25 grams left. So I can only do 6 more pancakes. So let's have a look. I can do 12, 24, 36, 48. 48 add 6. I can only do 54 pancakes with the butter I've got. So that there is my limit. Okay, 54 is your maximum because you run out of butter at that point, even though you've got enough eggs. Question 11, we've got some combinations work to do, and if you read this all through, we've got a relay team, and it says Sam always runs fourth. So I know this fourth place is always going to be Sam. So I can fill that in straight away. It says the order of the other 3 people, Ali, Blake and Rowan, is chosen at random. Can we complete the table showing all the combinations? Well, we'll keep Ali first here, and then all we need to do is swap the R and the B. Okay, we're going to try and work this through systematically. That is all the combinations with A at the front. So now let's put B at the front. And if B's at the front, then there's an A and an R. And then we'll keep B at the front and just swap those around. And that is all the combinations with B at the front. So now let's put R to the front. And again, if R's at the front, then we've got an A and a B. We'll keep R at the front and just swap those around. And if we look, we've got 2 combinations with A at the front, 2 combinations with B at the front, and 2 combinations with R at the front. That seems to make sense. I didn't need all these rows. It says find the probability that Ali will run first. Well, there is 2 times where Ali run first, and that's out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possibilities. It doesn't say simplify, so I don't need to, but that would be a third if you wanted to. Question 12, and we've got this weird shape. Straight away, I'm just going to fill something in. If that there is 4, and this here is a regular pentagon, which it is, then every one of these sides is also 4. Regular pentagon means all the sides are the same length. So I've got that bit sorted straight away. It says for the rectangle, the ratio of the width to the length is 2 to 5. I know that the width is 4. What I don't know is the length. Okay. But if we know that the ratio is 2 to 5, then I just need to work this backwards. How do you go from 2 back up to 4? You're just doubling. This side I'm going to double, and we now know that the length must be 10. So this is 10, this is 10, and I did miss a side length off. That is also 4 because this is a rectangle. And the question says do the perimeter of the shape, so I'll just show you what we need to add up. 4, add 4, add 4, add 4, add 10, and add 4. Not that one. That is not part of the perimeter. Okay, so we're going to do 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 30. The perimeter is 40. Asmir is answered a question, and it says product of prime factors, answer in index form. Well, let's just check his answer. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 again is 8, and 8 times 5 is 40. The only problem, he's not written his answer in index form. It should be 1, 2, 3 2's, so 2 cubed multiplied by 5. And part B of this question, it says find the value of x. We've got 1/16 equals 2 to the power of x. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 again is 8, and times 2 again is 16. So I think we've got 2 to the power of 4. 2 to the power of 4 is 16, but I want 1/16. So to get the 1 over, I need a negative index. 2 to the power of 4 is 16. 2 to the negative 4 is 1 over 16. We've got a mechanic that's got a tin containing 5 litres of engine oil. Straight away, I can see we've got millilitres coming up. So I'm going to take that 5 litres and multiply by 1,000 just to change that to millilitres. There's your conversion to change to millilitres. The rest of the question says each week we use 450 millilitres, and after 9 weeks we'll use over 80% of the oil. So this is what we've got. Every week we use 450, and we do that for 9 weeks. So let's do 9 lots of 450 to see actually how much we use. I'm just going to use a grid method to do that. So we've got 450 multiplied by 9. 9 noughts are 9 fives are 45. 9 fours are 36. Add on this 4 makes 40. So we use 4,050 millilitres in the 9 weeks, and that's out of the 5,000. So let's write that as a fraction. 4,050 out of 5,000. And what we need to do now is just see whether this is over 80% or not. So we need to turn this fraction into a percentage. Well, firstly, we can divide top and bottom by 10. So we've got 405 out of 500. If I can get this to out of 100, I'm golden, because that's my percentage. So to get 500 to 100, I'm dividing by 5. I need to divide that by 5. So how many 5s into 405? 5s into 4 is 0, remainder 4. 5s into 40 is 8. And 5s into 5 is 1. So this here is 81 out of 100. And that's 81%. Make sure you answer the question. The mechanic says after 9 weeks is used more than 80%. Are they correct? You will get a mark just for saying yes. We've shown 81%, and that's bigger than 80%. Solving an inequality, just do exactly the same as you would do if this was an equal sign. Okay, so if we've got brackets with an equation, we would expand these brackets. So I'm going to do 4 times x, which is 4x. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, and that is less than x. Now, because I've got x's on both sides, I'm going to just leave them a second. Usually I'd get rid of the smaller x first, but that leaves 0 over here. I know not many people like that. So what I'll do is I'll add 12 to both sides. We get 4x is less than x plus 12. And at this point, I'm going to get rid of the smaller x's. So take x, and what you get is 3x is less than, that's gone away, 12. Final step, divide by 3, and we get x is less than 4. In case of knowing your types of graph, direct proportion always goes through 0, 0, so it has to be this one, and it's always a straight line graph. So C is your direct proportion. And then inverse proportion, I'm afraid we just need to learn that one. Inverse proportion is this one, comes down in this curve shape. So that's D. Question 17, and we're looking at a prism, and it says draw an accurate plan view. And a plan view is from top. So you've got to imagine what you see if you look directly down on this prism. Well, firstly we'd see something that's 6 centimeters across. So on this grid, I'm just going to draw a line that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 centimeters across. You'd also see something that's 8 centimeters long, and that'd come this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'd effectively see a rectangle from the top. Now there is something else we'd see, and that's this line. Okay, so if we were looking down on the top of this, we'd see that line. And where that is 4 centimeters across from this bottom corner. I'm just going to count across 1, 2, 3, 4. What you'd see is like the top of the prism. That's like the very peak of the prism, what you'd see. Whoops. Part B of this question shows that the volume is 72 centimeters cubed. Well, volume of a prism comes from the area of the front, or the area of the cross section, and that's a triangle. So I'm going to do area first. Area equals base times height, 6 times 3, then divided by 2. 3 sixes are 18, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. So the area of that triangle is 9 centimeters squared. Volume is going to come from the 9, the front triangle, multiplied by this length, multiplied by 8, and 9 eighths are 72 centimeters cubed, as it says in part B of this question. Part C of this question talks about a cuboid with a square base. So a cuboid looks like this, and we've got a square base there. And what we know is the height of this cuboid is 2 centimeters. And we're asked to find one of these lengths here. Well, the volume is given as 72. And if someone's worked out the volume, we can undo that by dividing by the height. So 72 divided by 2 is 36. And what that 36 will be is the area of this base. So we know the area is 36. We're looking for this side length, which we can call x. Because this is a square-based cuboid, that will also be x. So x times x is 36. Something times itself is 36. The side length x is going to be 6 centimetres. We've just got a scatter graph. We've got data points in grey that have been plotted, and we've got to plot these remaining 4. So just make sure you're in the right place. January is down here. So I'm going to go across to 70 and up to 86. Across to 70 and up to 80. Just be careful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's going up in ones. So 86 is there. Across to 44 and up to 60. Across to 44 and up to 60. Across to 37, that's there, and up to 48, 40, 2, 4, 6, 8, and across to 38, right there, and up to 50, right there. It says in part B, describe the type of correlation. Well, these are moving upwards, and that would be positive correlation. Part C on the next page says, which student made the biggest amount of progress from January to February? And what we're looking for is someone with a low January score, but then a high February score. And I think the person that's jumping out is this person here. In January, they only got 30. And in February, they got 66. So that's the person with the biggest increase, low January score, high February score. And part D on the next page says, work out the percentage change for this student. So percentage change, what we need is the actual change, the difference. Okay, and we just said we went from 30 to 66, so the change is 36. They increased by 36 marks. And to get percentage change, I'm going to do that change, 36, out of the original. And if I can change that to a percentage, I've got the percentage change. Well, this is quite a nice fraction, because if we divide top and bottom by 3, then we get 12 out of 10. And if we multiply top and bottom by 10, we get 120 out of 100. The percentage change is 120%. And finally, part D, a very typical way to finish a scatter graph. We've got a student that scored 79 marks in January, and they're saying, can they use the scatter diagram to estimate what they got in February? If you look back at the scatter diagram, you will see that there is no January data beyond 66 marks, and this guy got 79 marks. So because the scatter diagram stops at 66, we're not allowed to use it beyond that point. A worker that gets a 10% increase and then another 10%, and he thinks that he's getting 20% altogether. This is a compound interest question dressed up. So if you've got no money to work with, always start with £100. On a percentages question, £100 is your best friend. If we find 10% of that, well, because we charge £100, that's nice, easy, £10. So to go up by that first 10%, we're going to do 100 add 10, which is £110. So that there is the first 10% increase. If we do another 10% increase, well, we're now starting with £110. So let's find 10% of that. It's not the same £10. 10% of 110 is £11. And if we go up by a second 10%, we do 110 add 11, which is 121. This here is showing that you have not gone up by 20%, because 20% of 100 is 20. So we should finish at 120, and instead we finish at 121. It does says what's the correct percentage increase. Well, because we chose £100 and we finished at 121, we've gone from 100 to 121, which is a 21% increase. We've got some estimation to do, and we're looking to do pressure, and pressure is force divided by area. Now we're told the force. What we're not told is the area. All we've got is a rectangle, which is 4.9 by 4.1. So I'm going to draw that rectangle out and put those measurements in place, 4.9 and 4.1, and we need the area of this. And we might be panicking because this is a non-calculator paper, but remember, this is an estimate. So we're going to do not 4.9 times 4.1, 5 multiplied by 4. Just make that nice and easy for yourself. and 5 fours are 20, and that would be centimetres squared. For the force, we're not going to use 198, we're going to estimate and use 200. Again, use really nice numbers when estimating. All we need to do now is work out the pressure, which is force over area, which is 200 over 20. Take a 0 off, 20 divided by 2 is 10, and it would be newtons per centimetre squared. Question 21, we're looking to complete the table where y is x squared take 3. So these are our x values. We just need to square them and take away 3. So I'm going to do naught squared take 3. Well, naughts are naught, and then take 3 is minus 3. And then here I'm going to do minus 3 squared take 3. Well, minus 3 times minus 3 is positive 9, and positive 9 take 3 is positive 6. We now need to put those coordinates onto this grid. That's all that part B is saying. So we're going to go across to minus 3 and up to 6, across to minus 3 and up to 6, across to minus 2 and up to 1, across to minus 2 and up to 1, across to minus 1, down to minus 2, 0 minus 3, 1 minus 2, 2, 1, and 3, 6. And because this is an x squared graph, you're always going to get this U-shaped curve going through your points. Make sure it is a curve and you're not doing dot to dot. Lovely. Part C says use the graph to solve x squared minus 3, the thing we just drew, equals 2. So what you might see is that this y has changed to a 2. So y equals 2. And what we want to find is y equals 2. And if you draw that line, y equals 2, and just look for the x coordinates where they cross over, that's what we're being asked to do. So I'm looking for those 2 points. So x is roughly about 2.2, 2.3, and x is minus 2.3, same thing. Question 22, we've got information about someone doing some research, and they're looking to sample 20 people that come out of a shop at 9 AM on Monday. This is about people being over or under 15. And it says, why is this unlikely to give reliable information? Well, if you're asking people at 9 AM on a Monday, then under 15s will be at school. So that's why it's a rubbish idea. Then we're just asked to make 3 suggestions that could provide more reliable information. So I'll just detail these now. Ask at weekends when everyone's available. Ask more people. 20 people is not a lot of people to be conducting a survey. And ask at several times throughout the day. Okay, younger people tend to get up later than older people, so if you ask at several times throughout the day, you're likely to hit a more variety, a more varied amount of people. Final question, we've got an angles question with algebra involved, nothing to fear here. If you can see that those 2 angles are the same, because we're looking at parallel lines, then we can get a mark just for writing that. If you just write 2x plus 30, the top angle, equals x plus 85, the bottom angle, you're going to get a mark just for spotting that and being confident enough to write it. Now we can solve this equation. First thing to do, get rid of your smallest x's. So take x from both sides. You're left with x plus 30 equals 85. Next step, take 30 from both sides. And we end up with x equals 55. So we've solved the equation and we've worked out that this x up here is 55. And if we know that x is 55, we can work out this entire angle. 55, add 85. 5 add 5 is 10, 8, 9, 14. That entire angle there is 140 degrees. Just so that I did that wrong. If we know that this angle is 140, then we can go on and work out y. These 2 angles sit on a straight line. Y must be 40 degrees. 140 add 40 is 180, and angles on a straight line add up to 180. So y is 40 degrees.